Today, we are going to overload your brain with information about boom tubes. Everybody's heard of boom tubes. Today's NASCAR exhaust, stock car exhaust, whatever you want. You think of these big flat things that stick out the side of a car and they sound really cool. We're gonna tell you why they sound really cool. We're gonna show you the different applications for them, the different types. Like you see, there's different configurations back there. And we're gonna show you the differences on the insides, what they do, kind of explain to you what the air is doing, why they create the sounds they do, just a general overview of everything. So whenever you're in the garage with your friends and they start talking about exhaust stuff, you can just be like, here's why this sounds like that. And they'll think you're smart or less dumb, depending on who you are. We also have all of these numbered because we want your input after knowing what you know about, theoretically what the air is going to do inside them and how they may sound. I'm going to put in some clips of actual race cars and whatnot as we talk about these to kind of give you a reference of the time periods at which they were used, because some of these aren't legal anymore. We're going to test these on the Monte Carlo, see what the differences in sounds are for future videos. And we want to know which ones you're most interested in, so they're numbered. So keep that in mind as we go through the rounds here. This one is number 1 because this is the first one I ever had. I bought this thing on eBay in 2014 for that car, back when it had a big block. And that's why it's got these extra pipes on here, because back before I knew how to work on cars, Jeff Lutz actually put this boom tube on that car for me. And it cost a lot of money, a lot more than I was prepared for, which kind of prompted me to learn how to work on cars myself, but that's a whole different story. Maybe we'll tell that on the extra channel, the Stapleton 42 extra channel that we just started. That's the place for stories like that. It'll be pinned in the comments, you need to check it out. This thing sounded pretty good with the big block. It was a 502. It idled like a boat because it was boat engine. And kind of the biggest point about these boom tube things, or any of these configurations, is just because you put one of these on your 3rd gen Camaro with a wallered out 350 doesn't mean it's going to sound like Dale Earnhardt's Monte Carlo when you turn it on. It won't do that. Just the same way that freaking Louis Armstrong could play a trumpet and then hand it to me and it would sound like hammered dog shit. You have to have a good engine going into one of these to get the right sounds out of them. And that includes the headers and compression, horsepower, the amount of air that's going through them. That all comes into play with how these things sound. And they're all designed to do something different.
So you mean you can't put them on an Accord and make it sound cool?
No. You can't do that either. Like whenever this one was on the big block, it sounded good sometimes.
Yeah, it did. If you go back and listen to video, don't you have old videos with that in there?
Yeah. I'll show them in here. There's one that's on a different account that has like a couple 100,000 views. You've probably seen it before. It's that car before it looked the way it did. Has a date welded on here, 5/24/05. So they don't use these big fat long ones like the skinny ones anymore. The current cup cars don't even have those. I think they just have pipes that come right out of the headers and stick out the rockers, because the next gen cars are, you would have found these wide skinny ones from the early mid 90s, probably mid 90s, up until the end of the Gen 4 cars, which was 2007 when they brought in the car tomorrow. But you can notice the difference between these two. You can see the difference in the path of the air is taking out of the engine. So you have each bank of your engines coming through here, and they converge in the boom tube. That's where the pulses meet each other. But on this side, they converge right here. And they're kind of going through the boom tube already unified, so to speak. So my sound prediction between number 1 and 2.
This will sound much better.
This will sound smoother. That will sound more aggressive, like a, you know, clumpy hot rod sound. You get more, I think you'll get more pops and bangs and burbles out of these ones than those ones. So when you're trying to imagine the sound path coming through these things, think about it like cars merging onto a highway. You got every cylinder's firing, and they're each producing a pulse of, you know, the explosion from that individual cylinders going through the header, and they're all meeting up. And why you get that signature V8, you know, popping, ripping noise. The typical cross-plane domestic V8 ripping sound, whatever you want to call it. It's like, you know, it cracks. It's not smooth. That is because you have exhaust pulses banging into each other the whole way through the tailpipes, and when they exit out into the atmosphere, they are disorganized. They're colliding, they're bouncing off each other, and it just makes a big old racket. You know exactly what I'm talking about if you hear some freaking pickup truck that has what they call true dual exhaust, and it just sounds real slappy and awful. That's because there is no harmonic balance of pulse pressure between the cylinder banks. And that's where this one, number 4, comes into play. Yes, you can see that it comes out both sides of the car, where all these ones just stick out one side. Down here, you have your pulses coming through, and there's a little bit of an equalization of pressure between the two, but not a ton. Over here, in this section, the Xpipe section, they are being forced to bleed pressure off to each side. These ones were used on super speedways, mostly in the 90s. Some people use them other places, but they pretty much were restrictor plate usage up until 2007. This one came from Morgan McClure super speedway car from 2001 and 2. That's why we chose number 4 for it. This is the real deal. Actually unrelated, this is the same exact thing, but brand new. So you can see kind of what they look like before they're made. But if you want to know how an Xpipe works, there's a whole different video on the channel. I'll link it right here that explains the Xpipe better. If you think about cars merging on an on-ramp, whenever 2 ramps come together and there's a lot of space between the cars and they just kind of flow together like a zipper, that's kind of what the Xpipe is doing, or trying to do, with these exhaust pulses. That's why those cars have that real high-pitched wail, as opposed to cars with just single exit H-pipe style, or even that one is just different. We think that those are so cool that we went and made a shirt just for them. Check it out.
Who doesn't want to make cool noises?
We just want to make cool noises. That was actually something that I think I said in the video we were making the exhaust is on there now, and someone said that's a good quote to put on a shirt, and I was like, you're right. So we did it, and that's actually, this exhaust is on this shirt.
The Morgan McClure exhaust.
Yes, I took a picture of it and sent it to the graphic design guy, and he made it.
Jacob did a good job.
Yes, he did. Now these ones are newer, because they don't even use the flat boom tube anymore. To me, the definition of boom tube would be these. Any of these with the wide flat exits. But people still call these boom tubes. I don't really know. Most of these came from an auction, I believe. That one's probably from a, I'm not even sure. I think this one's from a truck. from the truck series because the cylinder spacing is wider. But they have X's integrated into them. I really don't know what that would sound like. I do know that those do not sound like that, but they also don't sound like that. Not sure. It looks cool though. It almost looks more old school. But they still have baffles in them. You can see this one just, the whole way down there's baffles in there with this circles cut out to kind of smooth out the airflow. Some of them have baffles in them that are shaped like triangles, like little NACA ducts almost. I don't know what the difference in the airflow alteration is between the circles and the triangles, but some of them don't even have any division in the walls at all. These ones don't. You can see in the unfinished one here, those are completely solid. There's no ductwork in between those walls. Those are 3 chambers that are completely separated from each other. These pieces in here, they do have some little triangles in there. So they'd have like, you know, it comes out of here, it gets flattened out, smoothed out, whatever it is by this piece, and then it's just standalone. And it does make a difference what it is, the pipe diameter, the angle of the X, all that changes the way the sound passes through, the amount of material taken out to like the actual opening inside the tube changes how much pressure can bleed through from each side. It's all a big science. And there are a lot of places that did a lot of R&D to figure this out. Like this little one here, this is 3" instead of 3.5 like everything else. Don't really know why. It just had this written on it, 3" 60 degree, which I would assume to be the angle, because they probably tested, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80 different pipe sizes, dyno test everything, because it's got these bands welded on there to where you could clamp a bigger piece over it and run it. But I don't know if this piece had ever been run. It had EMS 35 on it. And I thought, maybe that means Evernham Motorsports. So I asked Ray what it was for, and he said it was for ground clearance at super speedways, just for restrictor plate engines. And then I asked him if the 3" pipe made the same amount of power on a plate engine as the 3.5, and he left me on red. It's okay, Ray, you can keep your secrets. These ones also are from EMS. Don't know, it says unit, but the little piece leading into them does, just like the McClure one. These ones are probably the most recent super speedway style exits. You can see like on Kevin Harvick's car when he won the Daytona 500 by like 2 inches against Mark Martin, they had that weird angled front side on them, almost like they were making these more aerodynamic. Instead of having the flat rectangle, they evolved into this, so that's on the leading edge. But there's not very much flat area out of here, so I don't know which one you think would sound cooler. I really don't know. It kind of jumps all over the place. There's no script for this. It's all just impromptu, whatever comes to mind. We'll go through and show you in detail every single one of these by the number, so you can write down what your favorites are, what you want to test. I think we'll make a poll on the community tab page of the channel with all the numbers that you can go vote on. I think that's the best way to do that, because if I just say, comment what your favorite is, let's be honest, we're not going to count them. It'll just kind of be like, well,
and they'll never stop accumulating, so
yeah,
there's no point in that.
Yeah, so just for you people, you real G's that are here early off the bat, you go vote in the poll. After the fact, you might as well comment it anyway, because you never know. Hopefully people will be watching this video for years. We get comments and people are like, oh, I'm late, but this video is really interesting. Even the video is like 3 months old. And you're just thinking, man, you're not late. These videos are meant to be watched forever. So go back and watch the old stuff if you haven't already on the Racing History Nerd Zone playlist. That's probably going to be your thing if you're watching this video, but you probably like the other stuff too. You should check it out. Here's to get a better angle. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the Xpipe, 5 and 6.
I I think that these are going to be interesting because they're like not a solid pipe.
Yeah.
Two separate things. So it's like, it's not an Xpipe, but it's also two separate pipes. It does have baffles.
Yeah. So the banks, the only inner merging that the cylinder banks can do is in the integrated X, because once they come back out, then they're separated again. Whereas in these, everything can converge and shift and do what it needs to do in the big flat boom tube. So you're right, that would be interesting. Here's number one, the OG. It's got a really big H-pipe. Oh.
Here, I'll...
Yes, please. It's got triangle ducts inside. Here's number two. Also has triangle ducts on the inside, but it looks a little skinnier. I don't know for sure, but I've been told that the thinner it is, the more higher pitched the sound is. That'll be something that we can test too.
Also, the pipe in between is also thinner. It's like skinnier.
Yeah, so it would allow less air to bleed through. I'm interested to hear what this one sounds like, because I don't know. I don't know.
This one will go on my car.
Okay, we can save it for that. Also got triangles in here. It's thin. Number 4. This is my favorite. This is the coolest one. This is like the holy grail right here, because if you don't know that Sterling Marlin and the Morgan McClure number 4 Kodak car were the first people to ever use an X-pipe like this. And that's kind of like, you know, what it's known for. So it's really awesome to not only have one of these things, but have one that was from Morgan McClure in the prime time of that sound, because that like
this is an artifact.
This is a legitimate artifact. This exhaust won the Talladega ARCA race, and it was a Cup car before that. So this has Cup history. We don't know what it did though. I have a theory. We'll save that for later in the video. Oh, and it is worth noting that these pipes in here are pass-through. I don't know why. I talked to the guy that worked for Morgan McClure who built this, and he said it was just a brace and they stopped doing it because these welds would crack. Okay,
There's no way that it was just a brace if air is coming through there.
Yeah, if it's just a brace, then why are these drilled out in here so air can go through? I would theorize that this is almost like an H-pipe for the X-pipe. So it bleeds off or equalizes a little bit of pressure on both sides of the X to let the X do its job more efficiently. I don't know, I'm not a physicist, I'm just somebody who thinks about air going through a pipe. And what we're gonna do, because that one is so sacred, is we're gonna recreate it, everything about it, spot for spot, thanks to Boyce Industries /AED.
I didn't know
That's
that
okay.
was gonna happen.
I don't know if you can actually buy these. I think they found them buried in the warehouse because I gave them the part number that was on there. So those are like legitimate, real deal, new old stock. This is what they would have looked like whenever, you know, whoever Morgan McClure, RCR, DEI, if they bought these and built them, they come like this and they make them like that. If they did come like that, then Morgan McClure did not use the supplied transition piece. They made their own. All these oval bends you can get from Boyce too. They got part numbers stamped right on them. The same part numbers actually that are stamped on the pieces from 2001 are still active and being produced today. So all this stuff you can still get. So if you find anything, find a boom tube, or you just want to make the whatever you want out of ovals, Boyce has you covered. Oh, and if you're wondering what this big block is for, it is for that Suburban we're gonna do a sound experiment with this thing and that 632. It's a 10.35 liter big block, conventional firing order, same as a, you know, the small block cup cars would have been in the 90s. We're gonna make as close to equal length primary headers for it as possible, and we got Profab to make some tri-Y collectors, and it's gonna have the Xpipe and the side X's and stuff to see if we can get a big block like this to howl like the restrictor plate cars did back then. Maybe, you know, it's not going to sound just like that because it's a much bigger engine, but it won't sound like Pappy's bracket car. And number 5, probably this Truck Series exhaust. I'm really not impressed with the way that the Truck Series trucks sound these days with the crate LS engines. They just sound like, I don't know, my car. And it doesn't sound like a race car. Oh, I really don't know. Theoretically, if we put this on that car, it would probably sound just like a current Truck Series truck. It's the same engine. But I think this one's neat just because it kind of has that old school look. I don't really know. I don't really know what the sound difference would be between this one and that one. Because the pipe wall thickness and everything's gonna have different resonant frequencies. I don't know. Which one is your favorite? I think the first one, we're gonna try testing this X on that car because the stuff that's on it now doesn't sound right. Just whatever the, like the kit Dr. Gas boom tube is available for retail. It doesn't sound like the super speedway car stuff. So we're gonna mess with it. See if we can iron that out. They look cool. If you can't find them anywhere else, you can get them when they look like that. They're not really constructed the same way.
Well, we painted them too.
Yeah, you paint them like matte black barbecue grill paint. Maybe we'll test some of these out too. These are like the raw pieces of what of those have been made out of, with the circles in them. It's the bare sticks. And this one's got triangles, and it's thicker, and it's not finish welded, so you have to weld all those little holes to get this baffle to be completely secure. It's just really so much time and energy and effort goes into all these things. It's just crazy to think about how many, like, to sit there and TIG weld all of this would take a very long time. It is possible that this came from Robbie Gordon's car in the 2001 Daytona 500. You know, the one that Tony Stewart flipped and landed on his roof. Because I know what ARCA car this came off of. I have pictures of it. And the stampings in the A-pillar look exactly the same on that car as they do in the pictures of Robbie's car in that race. But they do not match his Twin 125 car, or the Buzz Shootout car, one of the other ones. They use a different car for that. Holes aren't the same size. Don't have any chassis number information, but the time periods match up. They didn't have that many chassis from the guys that I talked to there. If they wrecked one, they'd fix it. And this particular car had a Laughlin front clip when the rest of the chassis was Gary Dehart, TKP. So I thought, that might be it. Let's look at the forensic evidence on this thing and see that this was the bottom. Okay, so this was the driver's side of the exhaust. It's got scrapes on it pretty bad, so bad that they had to weld it and patch it. And it's got a scrape over here too, real bad. But it also has a little scrape right here on the top. So my theory is that in the cup race, this exhaust was damaged. So they welded it back together, flipped it over, sent the car back out for ARCA duty, just to get further mileage out of their equipment. So, it's also, you can see it was cracked right here. So this is the front of the car. That's your driver's side. Tony Stewart lands on the roof, probably bottoms the car out I don't know about you, but I could definitely do that. It's very possible that's where that came from. We won't ever know because Morgan McClure destroyed their records. Either way, it's a piece from the era. It's really cool to me.
Definitely not a brace.
No. So that's coming, that's full force air coming right out of the header, going around the X through that tube. That's like a wastegate in a turbo car. You know what wastegates do? Bleed pressure. And you know what also happens if you dump a wastegate back into your downpipe? It helps pull it out. So maybe what they were doing with this is, what is that, like Bernoulli's principle or something? Where you have like intersecting paths and it helps, you know, create some vacuum somewhere. I don't know.
I was thinking of the time that I learned what a wastegate did, and I was like mad that we were using it.
You're like, why would you want a wastegate? So you make less boost with one of those? That's crap. Get that thing out of there. Do you think I should show them what the tri-Y headers are?
They're back there?
Yeah.
Those ones? Oh, I'll go get them.
Okay. You're wondering what this contraption is. This is a tri-Y header collector that pretty much, I'd say almost every cup car used back in the day. I don't know what they do now. Most of them still are. Where your typical, you know, hot rod header, this has all 4 tubes. They clam into a cone and then they just all jumble together. That's it. But what these ones do is they group the cylinders together by their opposing cylinder in the firing order, so that if this one's got a pulse coming through and it's down here, this one's got a pulse coming through and it's up here. So when they meet, they fall in line. You see that? Wow. They fall in line. And then the other side, these 2 cylinders are doing the same thing. And then these are the most 2 opposed cylinders collected here, so that they fall in line there. Now it comes out smoother. Helps reduce the back pressure. These steps are there to, I don't know, they reduce reversion or something. I don't know. There's a whole lot of math and theory and physics and all kinds of stuff I don't quite understand. So I just use the whole on-ramp way of thinking about it. And maybe that's why our Xpipe on the Monte Carlo doesn't sound right, because it has conventional header collectors on it. Or the primaries are 2 unequal lengths, so the sound waves are already colliding with each other too much before they get to the Xpipe, so the X cannot untangle all of that. If you have everything well organized and as well put into line as you can before the X can do that much better, and the sound that comes out almost sounds like it's got 180-degree headers, because with a flat plane engine, your firing order is much more linear like that. It's smoother. That's why the pitch is higher. Or you hear like a GT40 in the Hole and Moody video we did, which you should go watch. It sounds a lot higher pitched than a regular slide oiler 427 does, because those headers are placing the pulses in the appropriate line at which they happen in the firing sequence of the engine. Is that too much to handle? I don't know.
Well, it doesn't like work the same for like everybody, because like the firing orders are different, so it'd be different for different.
Exactly. That's a very good point. So if you group these particular cylinders together, if you were to change the firing order on the engine, these headers would not work to their intended purpose anymore, because you would have 2 cylinders that are firing at the same time running into each other right here. It wouldn't work. When you do these headers, you have to pair the appropriate cylinders together in the primary collectors, so that when they reach the secondaries, they come together as smooth as possible. That's a very good observation.
You're welcome. I am smart.
Yes, you are. People don't give you enough credit. You can find the Cool Noises boom tube shirt and all these other ones at staplesandautoworks.com with the hat. The hat I'm wearing is also on there too.
Take this one off. We don't have any of these.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you missed out on
Actually,
that.
technically, we have one if you want to sell that one.
We have one, just that one. Not for sale.
Wait, you said it's not for sale?
No, it's not for sale. I want it.
You want it for real?
I don't know, maybe. We're gonna get more of those, so just hang tight. If you want one, they'll be coming soon. If you've never been here before, you should subscribe, because if you're still watching this stuff must have interested you enough to not go do something else. So you're probably gonna like it here.
If you have any Bobby Allison Bud Moore shirts, we need those. Because the one I wanted that I found on eBay was like $800, and I'm not paying $800 for a t-shirt. So if somebody has one for cheaper, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Also, we have an address for fan mail now. You can find that in the description of the video. So if you got like cool old, you know, Winston Cup banners or anything like that you think might be useful to us, you can mail it there and we'll hang it up. Probably, if it's cool.
There's a lot of stuff that I need to like deal with and hang up that I haven't gotten around to because there's so many other things that I have to do. So don't promise things.
Yeah, they'll get hung up eventually. They won't be hung up as soon as they get here, but eventually they will. Oh, and if you're wondering about this fender, this is a fender from Buckshot Jones' car in the 98 Brickyard 400. Pretty neat. Joey, the guy that owns the Stavola Brothers building, gave us that. He's a cool dude. I mean, really. If we haven't earned your subscription by now, tell us somebody else who has like 400 pounds of 20-year-old NASCAR Cup car exhaust systems scattered across their shop floor making a video about it. You tell us who that is, okay? And you go subscribe to them instead because we're not cool enough. Okay, I didn't think you found anybody, so you better do it.
I think it's funny because some people will get butthurt about that.
People get butthurt about anything that there possibly is to get butthurt about.
Yeah.
It's...
When I couldn't sleep last night, I was like going through old comments on like videos from like a few weeks ago and stuff. I was like, damn, some people are just really rude. What happened if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything?
Yeah, I don't know. You guys have no idea what we deal with. But if you'd like to have some idea what we deal with, go check out the Stapleton 42 Extra channel, and we'll talk about it over there, because that's what that channel is for. Like the, you know, more the get to know you guys, hoping you guys get to know us better, that kind of stuff. You're gonna like it. And we finally got the aero wheels on the Monte Carlo. Sneak peek.
And the extra video that I filmed yesterday.
Oh, you already showed it. Okay,
Yeah.
we won't show you then. You got to go over there to see that. So go check out that. So check that channel out. We'll see you there. And I'll link the poll too.
I mean, you can show it, but I was just saying that I already did it.
Oh, well, no, I'll save it. If they want to see it, they can see it. They can see it over there. Because if we put it all here, then there's no point to having a second one, right?
I think that you should just go ahead and show it because some people get mad.
Okay, we'll show it. Oh God, it's so awesome. No, the letters are not blue. That's just a protective layer that comes on there. Oh, it's so cool looking. I wish we had those on there when we took the pictures in North Wilkesboro, but we'll be back. That's okay. And we rearranged everything in here. When I say,
That's what I filmed the video about.
yeah, so there's a video about that too, which is recorded and directed by Logan. I don't think I was even here.
You weren't here, and that's why it was so bad. I literally refilmed it. Like the first time I filmed it, I was like, wow, that was awful. I really suck at this. And then I redid it, and I told Mitchell, like, it's gonna be funny when he watches it. Really
Yeah,
funny.
I haven't watched it yet, but you'll see that over there too.
And I left the camera on for like 20 minutes on my desk, just like going. I forgot to turn it off.
She does that sometimes. Numerous times.
I clicked the button and it didn't turn off.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta like click it hard. These things are temperamental sometimes.